Welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Eddy Mack. Let's turn our attention right now to New York City as we're nearing what's expected to be the halfway point of the Sean Diddy Combs federal sex trafficking and racketeering case there in the Big Apple. More testimony from an ex-personal assistant today. More explosive details. Let's take you right now out to our Fox 5 team. The intrepid Lisa Evers has the report on what we saw here on Monday entering week 4.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs.
All right, for a third day, Combs' former assistant known as Mia was back on the stand. Fox 5's Lisa Evers is live outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan with a breakdown of today's testimony. Lisa.
Well, Stephen, Natasha, Sean Diddy Combs sat at the defense table, his chair pushed back a little bit, his hands in his lap, folded and completely motionless as his former personal assistant, who was using the pseudonym Mia, testified on the stand that she was brainwashed. That's why she kept texting him affectionate messages years after she left, and that even though she testified earlier that he repeatedly sexually assaulted and abused her for years. Now, late this afternoon, Sean Diddy Combs' mother, Janice Combs, came out of court walking with one of her grandsons to the black Sprinter that takes the family to and from court. All morning and for most of the afternoon, one of Diddy's former personal assistants under the name Mia was under tough cross-examination from his lawyers about her claims that he sexually assaulted and physically and emotionally abused her for years. There were strong objections from the prosecutors, some of which were upheld, and the tensions grew. The aggressive line of questioning, which highlighted seemingly contradictory statements about her experience working for the disgraced hip-hop mogul. Mia said she made a happy birthday video for Combs, telling him that he was one of the biggest inspirations in her life, and said, "I love you." This afternoon, she said she did it because it was part of her job, and she feared what would happen if she did not do it. Now, most of the day, she kept her head down, her long blonde bangs hiding most of her face as she spoke. She said she was speaking out not for money, but so she could look her niece and her goddaughters in the eye. Now, from the very beginning, Sean Combs' defense team has said that, admittedly, he's abused women, incidents of domestic violence, as well as having a hot temper that at times grew violent, and that he had a substance abuse problem, but that he was not a sex trafficker. So he's maintained his innocence throughout this, saying he's not guilty, but we'll see what happens. There'll be more in court tomorrow. We're live at federal court. I'm Lisa Evers, Fox 5 News. Stephen, Natasha.
All right, thank you so much to Lisa for that. And it was a tense moment inside of the courtroom, as well as Brian Steele, the defense attorney for Sean Diddy Combs, asking Mia about these interactions with Diddy Combs, the music mogul, and of course, from the prosecution talking about it being argumentative. And of course, we're getting into more of that as Brian Steele, the attorney there that we've seen in the YSL Young Thug trial out of Georgia, most recently called it a, quote, Me Too money grab. For more on this, let's go on to a conversation my colleague Mike Pace had with TMZ about what unfolded in the Big Apple courtroom today.
And welcome back, everyone, here to Live Now from Fox. We continue to bring you the latest in the Diddy trial. It is a new week, but that does not mean that the fireworks did not continue, because, boy, did they ever, as the defense continued the cross-examination of Mia and so much more. So let's get right down to it. Let's bring in our friend here from Live Now from Fox, TMZ's Michael Babcock with the latest breakdown. And Michael, yeah, this was another one where cross-examination trying to showcase Mia as maybe not having the worst experiences with Diddy.
Hey, Mike, that's exactly right. There's a struggle, there's a battle going on right now in the courtroom, and it's between the prosecution and the defense, Mike. And you've got the prosecution as they try and frame this situation as Cassie and Mia, these women who were at this enormous power disadvantage, that Diddy was not only their bosses, but was also this very wealthy and powerful celebrity who could at times act very violent, and they were in fear of him. So that's what the prosecution is trying to paint. That's the picture they're trying to put out there. Meanwhile, the defense is trying to paint a picture of a loving relationship and people in Cassie and Mia who had a lot lot of love for Diddy, and they regularly express that in messages and things they said to Diddy. And that is the battle right now. And I think this case if you want to make it simple, Mike, I think it's as simple as saying whoever wins that battle is going to emerge victorious here. And I'm not so certain that it's going to be the prosecution.
Yeah, because, I mean, where we're at right now, the defense has to paint not only the witnesses that the prosecution brings on, but really paint the story of, look, these people that the prosecution are bringing in, they not only wanted to be part of Diddy's orbit, but they wanted to stay in the orbit as well, no matter what happened.
That's exactly right. And that really is, I think, goes to the heart of the cross-examination today. You know, Brian Steele is one of Diddy's attorneys. If people recognize that name, it's likely because he really rose to prominence defending Young Thug in Atlanta last year. And he did a really fantastic job in that case. And he's a tough lawyer. And he was very tough on me. I think you could make an argument that he might have even been too tough because she broke down on that stand several times. And a defense attorney doesn't want to be seen as potentially attacking or being aggressive with someone who claims they were a victim of sexual violence. I'm sorry, Mike, the lights just went off here. You know, they've got to walk a fine line there. But nonetheless, this is what happened in that courtroom today. And, you know, Steele and the defense, they painted or pointed to several messages. They pointed to a Christmas message from a couple years back where Mia had reached out to Diddy. And this is after she had allegedly been sexually assaulted by him on numerous occasions. And she was expressing all of this love for him. Hey, Merry Christmas. I just want you to know I love you. And Brian Steele says, why would you send this message to somebody who allegedly brutalized you? And, you know, I think it's a question that a lot of people have asked. I am not saying, Mike, it's right. In fact, I think it's wrong. But the bottom line is, you know, all you've got to do is look to Bill Maher's program on Friday. And he is, you know, in this monologue that he delivered, which was controversial, he had said, look, a lot of people don't understand why a woman could have been, again, sexually assaulted by a man allegedly. And, you know, not only not left him, not quit that job, but remained close to him and expressed love towards him. And I think, again, you don't need, it's not a majority. You're not looking for 7 jurors here. You need every single juror to believe what the prosecution's selling. And if it's just one who doesn't see it that way, you're going to have a not guilty verdict.
Yeah, you just need that one to be on your side if you're the defense. Michael, so we know that the judge hopes to have this really a trial at its conclusion by the July 4th holiday. Who are we expecting maybe next week when the defense gets this case? Who are some maybe our big hitters or big celebrities that could be on the stand for the defense?
Yeah, I mean, you know, look, we've already obviously had Cassie, who was one of the alleged victims. We've heard from Cuddy, who was a witness, but Michael B. Jordan's name is somebody who has come up. I think, you know, without a doubt, these parties that, and even if they weren't the quote unquote freak offs, these parties that Diddy had over a 2-decade period were attended by some of these massive celebrities. So I think it's very possible that you could have some really brand name celebrities who are called to the stand to testify to some of the things that they might have allegedly seen. The reality is that at the outset of the case, Mike, a lot of people thought you were going to be looking at 8, 9, 10, even possibly more time. But the prosecution is actually ahead of schedule. I don't know that that is necessarily a good or bad sign for them, but it's a good sign for people who want this trial to be done and over with. So I think you're going to hear from this defense pretty soon here, and then we're going to have this thing, and it will be with the jury, and they will have time to deliberate and come up with a verdict here. But bottom line is, I think you could definitely hear from some big celebrities. Again, Michael B. Jordan being one of those big names who has come up. And, you know, we're making our way here. We're making progress. And a lot quicker than we thought, which is not the typical. That's not the norm. Normally, slowdowns, not quicker, not ahead of schedule.
Yeah, that's so true. Michael Babcock, thanks for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. It seems like every day in this trial there is a new nugget or something big that happened, and you guys are always breaking it down. So thanks so much.